Good morning, Ghana. Welcome back on the AM show. And we're about to hit the nail on the head with my blunt thoughts for you this morning. This morning, I want us to reflect on our natural resources. Failing to own what we possess, the vicious cycle of Ghana's scandalous poverty. My dear friends, having resources is one thing. Properly valuing and managing them is another thing altogether. Guess what? For us on this continent, Africa, we have the second largest continent, and the mineral industry of Africa is also the second largest in the world. Africa is richly endowed with mineral reserves and ranks first in quantity of world reserves of bauxite, cobalt, industrial diamonds, phosphate rock, platinum group metals, vermiculite, and zirconium. African mineral reserves rank first or second for bauxite, cobalt, diamonds, phosphate rocks, and all of these metals that I have made mention of. All of them are present here in good quantity. In fact, the 2012 share of world production from African soil was 7% of bauxite, 5% of aluminium, 38% of chromite, which you would find in some Central African countries, copper at 9%, gold at 20%, iron ore at 2%, steel at 1%, and more. For natural diamonds, for example, it stands at 56%. The list could go on and on. But the question is, has our continent capitalized on all this, made the most of all of these resources? What has Ghana, for example, made of all its natural resources? Is the resource curse actively playing out here, where a country has vast natural resources but fails to properly harness it for real developmental purposes? In 2012, for example, Ghana exported $5.93 billion in gold, making it the 21st largest exporter of gold in the world, while getting, guess what, only 4% of that sum in royalties. This active royalty system, which has seen us accruing 3%, 5%, 7%, 10% and the like for our natural resources, and even 10% is on the high side, is part of what ails our economy and is causing the yawning deficits that often lead us right back, pan in hand, to the IMF. But even in Africa, some countries are doing better than others. Look at South Africa, which has managed to secure better terms for its value of gold. Look, in 2012, for example, in 2020, they exported gold worth $13 billion. How much did they get out of that? $4 billion in revenue. That is about a third, if not more, of what they exported. And that is substantial. Look at us here. How much are we getting? A pittance, 4%, and yet we want to get development. That is where we ought to get to. The example of South Africa and other countries. Most of these multinational corporations operating here, mining our gold, taking our oil, exploiting them, I am sad to say, come to Ghana to explore and exploit our natural resources, cash in on them, and then cash out, repatriating most, if not all, of their returns outside of our economic jurisdiction. How then, I ask, do we expect to develop? Oil revenue royalties rake in only about 4%. So I ask, has the royalty system in force helped Ghana, Nigeria, Africa as a whole? Some African countries, like I have stated, have secured better deals than others. But here in Ghana, how can we also get to that point? We also have the other side of the equation. Poor resource distribution, which has led to fighting and insurgency in Nigeria, for example. That should point to what this trend, if not remedied, can do. Just you take a good look at Obuasi and Takwa, mining towns. How best can you describe them but as ghost towns? Look at their hospital facilities, roads, and all of that. Look at the Western region and oil production. How much has it done for the people there? How has it directly benefited the people? These entities will do a little corporate social responsibility, and that's it. Yet they rake in billions that they are expatriating year in and year out. And our leaders sit down and watch and agree to these terms. Now, guess what? We also have lithium, a wonderful product that can be used for many purposes across the globe and which is sought after by many countries. And our leaders are greedily following the same vicious cycle of the past, which will lead to a royalty system that will only benefit a precious few. We're vainly and foolishly rushing headlong into another resource ambush. And our blind leaders cannot even see this to talk of read between the lines. Here's something you may not be aware of. It may, in fact, come as a big surprise to you. Are you aware that currently Ghana is now the world's biggest exporter of yam? Just take a look at this. In terms of global exports of yam in 2021, Ghana ranked first globally. If you take a good look at this, you would see that the top global exporters of yam in sum of millions of dollars, actually has Ghana at the top with 48 million. Jamaica follows with 39 million. Then the USA, interestingly, with 22 million, Japan with 21 million, and China with 20. But I ask myself, on the back of this, what have we done? In fact, when you take a look at the next slide, you would see that in terms of millions of dollars, between 2016 and 2021, there has been quite a giant leap from $27 million in 2016 to 48.2, almost $50 million in 2021. But having achieved this, I am yet to see a plan, for example, concerning what we can do to sustain this, to ensure that now that we are at the top, we stay there and get even more hard currency for Ghana. What we should do is a quick SWOT analysis. We contemplate our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in this industry, weigh our new areas of export strength, and factor it in on how to harness this to the full. As the economists will say, you figure out your niche areas and explore your comparative advantage and hone those areas. Guess what? We have comparative advantage here. But on the back of this, you'd think a country like Ghana, especially with our Planting for Food and Jobs program, would ramp up yam production by encouraging farmers and guaranteeing the buying of their produce, to provide better storage facilities, contemplate value addition. But no, not Ghana. Lie. Not with these leaders we have. Recently, there was talk of government not coming to the aid of yam farmers. In fact, it was in the news on this very network where we shared with you different farmers from different parts of the country complaining about the fact that they had a yam glut. Why should that happen for a country that is at this level? So is government thinking of adding value to the yam tubers rather than just following the non-existing, long-existing pattern with cocoa, where we just exported the raw beans until we started processing them? In October last year, yam farmers in the Northern Belt complained bitterly about various constraints that were severely impeding yam production. The farmers added that their problems were compounded by neglect of the sector by government. I can bet my bottom dollar not much is being done. And in a matter of years, if not by next year, we could slip from top spot, especially considering that we are facing our own feeding challenges for our own population by way of availability and cost. But before I go on, as you could see in your background, that was that report recently on yam farmers with vast stores of yam going waste. Why must this always be our script? The Malaysians got oil palm from us. Look today at their production levels. I ask, how can a country that up until last year had for 3 years running been Africa's biggest producer of gold, now only second to South Africa, a country which is the world's second biggest cocoa producer, a country with vast diamond, manganese, bauxite, timber, water, human and other resources, end up in these dire economic straits and have to go to beg the IMF for a bailout? How? We have the very arable land. We've not capitalized on it. We have lithium now. As always, the looting brigade will, as we say here, do the most. And Ghana, Mother Ghana, will be all the poorer, even with this new blessing. Now, we are doing big things with yam. But just you wait and see if the measures I speak of are not applied, whether in the next 2 to 3 years would still be the world's top producer. We always fail to plan properly. And we all know that a failure to plan is a tacit plan to fail. So yes, yetisikaso, and so okomfita enediyeng. because we don't take advantage of what we have. And to make matters worse, our leaders do not only appear to be bereft of real transformational nation-evolving ideas, they also are venomously corrupt. This corruption has so blinded them that they cannot see beyond the noses of their own comfort. And to add to all that, to add even more insult to injury, our leaders tend to grow wings, starting to act all high and mighty and adopt this arrogant tone over time that is just sickening. This cuts across both the NDC and the MPP, which have had opportunities to rule in this Fourth Republic. But little wonder when leaders forget their true place, that they are actually servants. Here, the reverse is true, because we've allowed it to be so. So you can have a finance minister who is flailing at post, whose policies are flopped, and whose ideas about an IMF bailout were sidestepped by his boss, the president, who would tell us that resigning would be like a father. Who, by the way, made him our father? Who told him we were his children? Would he treat his children the way we are being treated in this country? In any case, my father, may his gentle soul rest in peace, would not be anything like our finance minister had he been alive. That's for sure. But the arrogance doesn't stop there. You have a communications minister who very reluctantly, told us that she had to postpone the SIM re-registration deadline, almost as though offering the crumbs of her patience, for which reason we had to be eternally grateful. You have a broken system that has cost people so much because of ineptness, and you have the effrontery to demean those same people? Someone better holler in the ears of these haughty ones that they are paid with our taxpayers' money, that they are there to work for us, not lord it over us. And of course, when you have such vain ministers whose hubris is so big, you cannot expect anything less from the appointor himself, can you? Do you recall that tweet many years ago, right before 2016, when President Akufo-Addo, now president, then in opposition, posted about Ghana going to the IMF and how for the first time a resource-rich country, a country that had discovered oil, was going to the IMF? I guess that benchmark, fellow Ghanaians, hasn't changed. But we are back, eager and ready to dance the economic tango once more with the IMF. And the CEO of the nation, President Akufo-Addo, tells us his government will get us the best possible deal from the IMF. It sounds like a double slap in the face. It is as though heading there for such a program were a feather in this government's cap, or what ordinary Ghanaians would have expected from his administration. Can you imagine that? You see, Ghana 4, if we are to go by his own cousin, Gabi Ochiridako's words many years ago, then this administration, without a shred of doubt, has been financially reckless, and through same, brought our economy to its knees, to the point where we need an IMF bailout. If the fundamentals were weak then, they must be weak now also for us to witness what we are. If the economic downturn that necessitated an IMF program was solely due to recklessness then, how can we paint this current ignominious turn with a different paintbrush? What's good for the goose, they say, is equally good for the gander. You know be so. So Ghana, for as we've reflected on all of these thoughts, I just want to, before I go to the slides, share with you something that Dr. Miles Monroe says about leaders. He says, the next time you meet any leader, ask them why they are there, what they mean to do with that position they occupy, what their aspirations are in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. These are questions we ought to be putting to our leaders, because guess what? A lot of them, I'm sad to say, are square pegs in round holes. They are there because we've contributed to the party and it's time for us to milk the system, for us to get our share of the booty. But in the end, who benefits and who loses? The few of them, the 3% who have power, or the 97% of the masses who have practically nothing? I'd like you to take a look at this as we get ready to wrap the conversation. If you look at our royalties from oil, as I've pointed to you, since 2015 till now, it has indeed seen an increment. But when you look at the value of what we've been getting, like I painted the picture before, out of what? 5.1 plus billion in 2020, getting only 4%. That paints quite a picture. So from 384 million in 2015, we're getting something around 1.3 billion in 2021. And you would say, well, that is quite a good development. But in the end, is it worth it? How much we are getting? I want to challenge our leaders this morning to take a second look at our royalty system. How can it be that we have all of these resources and yet we get these little percentages? How can we, in any good conscience, accept such situations? Because in the end, with all that is filtered out and the little that trickles in, we fail to build roads. We fail to deliver hospitals. Recently, Wache, we are told, died because of the no-bed syndrome. Who knows? That comedian, that actor's life could have been saved if he had had access to a hospital bed. We need better leaders who will get better deals for us, who will serve Mother Ghana in love and honesty. And until we get that, let's forget anything about making the strides to become a developed country, a developed economy. Which is why, as I end, I put this to you. Wherever you are, hold your leaders accountable. Do not look at your present situation thinking that maybe you are benefiting from their largesse. Because guess what? The tide could turn on you tomorrow. And if you enter a hospital and you don't get a bed, there will be no discrimination. The time to end this script, to end this tide of events, is now, not tomorrow. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. These are my blunt thoughts for you this Friday morning, served raw, hot, undiluted. As always, God richly bless Ghana.